Welcome to Between Data and Risk podcast. Today we'll be discussing issues faced by teams working remotely from diverse locations and diverse cultures, and how to manage these teams towards developing a coherent product. To give us a practical illustration of how this can be achieved, we've invited Aldi Agaj, founder and CEO of AAK Telescience. Stay tuned.
If you're a business owner or senior manager, you probably had more than enough about all the wonderful opportunities awaiting you in the era of digitalization.
Whether it is big data, cloud, data science, or whatever buzzword is currently trendy.
If you would like to hear someone dissecting these claims and showing you what it actually takes to improve business processes, you're in the right place.
This is Between Data and Risk, where we discuss real-life examples of what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations.
Hello, I'm Artur, Cognition Shared Solutions Chief Risk and Strategy Officer, and with me is my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to this episode of Between Data and Risk. Today we'll be talking about managing remote teams, and we're excited to have with us as our guest Aldi Agaj, founder and CEO of AAK Telescience, and a revolutionary global collaborative environment dedicated to the scientific research community, who agreed to share his experiences with us. Hello.
Hi, pleasure to have you guys here. It's a very pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure is ours. I, as a, let's say, former life science scientist, however it sounds, am very, very impressed with the platform that Aldi created. I must say that I felt like a kid in a candy store when he showed me what data he connected. But it's enormous work. It's like unbelievably complicated system, and to our knowledge, it was something that Aldi started. And there's a question: with a group of people, just by yourself? Like how did you start? What was like the day one of the team? Like, did you have a couple of people that you had to coordinate with, or it was just your brain work and you were sitting and how and make it work?
Well, I don't believe in self-made man. So the creation of AAK is a progress. How it started is my father. When I graduated from college with a law school degree, he said, like, congratulations, you're a lawyer. So what have you done for the community? So that is how started the whole. That's a typical Albanian father, to you. Once you've done and achieved something, he's there to push you again to do something wrong. But he was right. Actually, through my school, I learned that the scientific community was very unrepresented. And working in the startup industry, particularly in other fields like research and development here at UC Davis, but also in Italy, I have friends who are researchers, a lot of friends who are researchers, and they all complained about the same thing. We are unrepresented, we are unsatisfied, and most important, we don't have information. We don't know where the funding is going, why it's going in a certain way, and how can we reach that funding. So, when you hear they say researchers don't have money, it's a true statement. They don't, because nobody ever cared to create a platform dedicated to them where they actually can have that information. They have to go through the professors, those ancient gatekeepers who tell them where the funding is, where the funding for NHS, you have to have publication, you have to have citations. And they created this fictitious way where they have to cite a professor who is important or is known in order to have certain points and to achieve funding. So,
about citations, I think it was last couple of days I learned that I think Elsevier retracted 500 publications because they were bought in Russia and in China and based on falsified data. Currently, it was, I think, they coined the term press mill. So there is a group of people who writes scientific papers, and you can buy some for starting from $150 up to $5,000, depending on where you want to, the quality of the lie behind the results. And there are hundreds of papers being pushed and now investigated.
Not only that, but this is something very common. If you talk to a couple of scientists and researchers, first of all, I want to make sure that scientists have the maximum respect in the world. They work very, very hard. But like any other person or any other profession in the world, they have learned to live and to deal with what they have. And that they have is one of the areas of they have to make through with what they get is available. So if they have to be appealing to the professor, 90% of the work is not done by PI or the professor investigator. It's done by their assistants or by the researchers or the visiting researchers or the people who are not tenure.
Mm-hmm.
So postdocs and so on. So 90% of the work is done from them. But do you ever see one paper without a citation of a professor?
My paper on COVID model, we didn't have any professor.
But you were not the school system then when you did that paper, weren't you?
Oh, no. We published in, let's say, in a peer-reviewed journal. However, Lancet didn't want to accept it. They said it will be served better elsewhere. And they published next, I think, couple of weeks, a model which was country level, but it came from the respectable professor. The paper was later destroyed and turned to shreds by other researchers because the model was so inaccurate and based on sources. But the race started. No, but let's get to let's say we know why you started AAK. Okay. So now you have this idea. Okay, we see the problem. Let's try to find a solution.
Correct. So you start hiring people. So you start talking to the researchers, talking to the PhD professors, talking to going to the department, for example, UC Davis of engineering. Computer engineering, and talk to PhD researchers in computer engineering. Then go to the Department of Applied Mathematics and talk to other people who you know in applied mathematics. And so you create a small team. When we started in the beginning, the team was of 5 people.
Okay, cool.
And then you need somebody who has engineering skills, because I'm a lawyer. I don't have engineering skills. You need people who has mathematics skills, because you need the algorithms to be written and to be correct. Because when you're going to work with researchers, particularly who have been creating a career on looking what other people do and criticize that, you want to be accurate. You don't want to make mistakes in that field. And then you need somebody who has web development capacity, UI, UX. And then you need somebody who does databases. And so you have a team of 5 people.
Okay. And now you have, just to tell our listeners,
638 people in 18 countries in 7 different time zones.
So you've shown us last time we spoke. You've shown us this team, and it was extremely diverse. How do you kind of grow such a team such that it remains sustainable? Because very, very often I have seen teams which grew to much lesser extent, and they have dispersed almost kind of immediately without proper control. And you don't look to me like a control freak, someone who kind of speaks to everyone on a daily basis. How do you manage that?
It's impossible to speak to everyone on a daily basis. So when you have 638 people, as we have right now, in 18 countries, literally in 18 countries and in 7 different time zones, there is no way that you can match your time zone with the time zone of each one of them. It's just impossible.
No, so the micromanagement is not the best solution, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, hey, be my guest if you want to try it. Sure. But sorry for that.
Trust me, he would.
you can try, try that micromanaging. But I guarantee you will fail miserably. Also because in a startup, what is the main focus of the people who join startups is the willingness to do something. And it's not the boss who manages them. The world is changing very rapidly in that way. And I'm not a micromanager. I just can't stand somebody on my neck. So I start from the point that if I cannot stand it, if somebody stays on my neck and look at what I'm doing, well, I'm not doing that to others. It just doesn't make sense. And they will not do a good job anyway if you did it. But
agreed.
You need managers. You need people who know what they do and they have a passion for what they do. Because when they have a passion for that, you don't need to manage people. They actually manage you. You'll be surprised.
Did your core team become managers in your company?
Say it again?
Did the core team, with 5 people that started, did they become top managers, or did some of them decide, okay, I want to stick to do the code?
One person left working with the company.
Can dare we ask kind of what happened? Was it difference of vision, or was it just natural attrition?
Well, let's say this way. When you start a project, 5 people sit down and all they say that's cool. That's very cool. Oh, I love it. It's a great idea, Aldi. But then when it takes 16 hours a day of dedication, slowly people move aside. And you will see, you take 5, those 5 become 15, those 15 become 30. Because it doesn't stay 5. 5 each one of them bring 1 or 2 friends, and then you become 15. And then the core team is not 5 anymore, but it's 15. Because you are very early stage and you need any help you can get. But soon enough, there is an idea phase and there is a working phase where you have to take that idea and make it become reality.
Yeah.
And those 2 phases are not for everyone. So some people will stay and will take it through. Other people will leave because they don't have the incentive or then the vision, or they, at some point, it's too much work. I don't want to think that people don't have vision. They have vision, but they also find that they have life. Some people, for example,
strange people.
No, not strange people. They're very good people.
No, we both have children. We understand what you're talking about.
So I have a daughter who's 7 years old. It doesn't matter what is happening in my company. I guarantee you can be the president of the United States. If my daughter is sick, I'm not going to talk to you.
So we're happy that she's healthy today.
Yes. She's at school right now. And I'm going to take her after our meeting to the beach. But the point is this, and she organizes all everything, so she's going to have fun with that. But people have families, have a life, things happen, So slowly, those who have the commitment to see through a project will stay. Others, that's why you have rotations. And then to the core team, I have only 1 left. He's a father with 3 kids. I have only 1 and I'm complaining. He has 3 kids.
I have 3 kids myself, including twins. So we can make a complaining round or 2. But I'm not sure if it would be of great interest to the listeners. But they may be interested in how did you manage? Because like you said, you needed different skill sets. Okay.
Correct.
And now some people with this core skill sets left. Like, how did you manage that, the skills were in the company still? So you have people who brought, I don't know, with mathematics. I'm not sure if the guy who is left.
Engineer? No, he's never left. He's still there. Roberto Nuba.
So mathematician is here. Damn it. Okay, let's take the database guy. So you have this database specialist who laid the groundwork. Then he left someone in his place, but it succeeded. Like when we spoke earlier, you said like you cannot transfer knowledge. You can share it. But how do you ensure that what is shared is sufficient to pick up the project and run?
That's the beauty of it. It is not my initial idea anymore. It's the idea of everyone else who has collaborated. See, I don't have the presumption that I knew it all. I mean, like they are going to.
But you had the database guy who had this vision for, let's say, data architecture or database, let's say, structure. So he had this vision.
That was my idea.
It was your idea.
Correct.
What I think Marian is trying to ask, if I may kind of paraphrase it a bit, is how do you ensure continuity? Because obviously there was some groundwork laid down at some point, and if people leave, I mean, we've encountered this in our own company. People leave, a certain kind of knowledge leaves with them, and so that's one problem. The other problem is that you have. Unless you're very lucky and you can have a transition period, an overlap between the new people coming in and the old people leave, there will be a period where you have to kind of manage it, juggle it around a bit, maybe take on the role temporarily yourself. How do you manage those transitions?
Well, if you talk to my team, they will tell you there is always a plan B in Aldi's mind. That's my job. I have, as a CEO, to always have a plan B. So just to answer the question about the data guy, I had the idea of how to build a platform, but then the technicality, for example, we started with using R, and then we went to Python, and then we went to fast APIs and the REST APIs, and we used Kubernetes and so on. So the evolving idea, I can have the general idea. Hey, we need these platforms, we need these databases, it needs to be connected. However, as a CEO, you have to do a job that since the day one is very important to understand. That you cannot rely on one person. You must have a 3 of each. So if one leaves, you must have 2 and make sure to get a third one substituting the one who leaves immediately. Because if you rely only on the 3, you're done. That just doesn't happen.
So it almost kind of says that you've started building resilience into your project from day one. It's
correct.
It's something that we always advocate about having backup plans, having resilience, and having processes documented such that you've got that knowledge transfer or knowledge sharing, however you want to put it. And I think it's especially important if you've got this global team, because you cannot just take those 2 people, sit them in a room and discuss. You have to actually communicate it through other media.
Absolutely. No, we have processes in place. For example, every project, before starting any part of the project, there is a deep analysis. That deep analysis has to be created in project management documentation. That project management documentation has to be shared for criticism from the team members. You have to take in consideration, for example, things that you don't think, the technology, the application, the durability, the resources that we have, and so on. So there is a process for every single aspect of that. And then you start producing it. I mean, it took 2 years for a reason to have a product. Because, and I know somebody will say, like, that's nothing, I get it, but it wasn't.
Not us.
It wasn't done overnight, it takes a lot. So a lot of nights where we were discussing about simple concept like, hey, which one is the best way to connect the databases? And which DevOps knows certain type of technology, and another DevOps that comes later knows another type of technology. So you have to have a very clear project management part documentation, where every single aspect of the project has to be accurate and known what is going to connect with another piece. And guess what? And that has to be able to change, has to be dynamic. So you do all that work where you're doing everything perfect to know all the parts that can connect. And then you tried, it doesn't work. So you have to have also taken in consideration that something will break down, and you have to be adaptable and changing and pivot.
Now you have over 600 people. You mentioned that you are one of the very few technological partners, for example, European Union. So it's like a gigantic machine having their own, I would say, needs. Like, how do you ensure that your team remains flexible enough to meet the requirements? Because I guess it works both ways. You tell them how to, like, they never managed to connect researchers in a way that you did with the information about funding companies, projects, all of this wonderful stuff that you have there. But I guess they will want you to include some of the stuff that they need for their bureaucracy. Being, a European, I'm pretty sure there will be requirements. So I guess you will have to ensure some flexibility to adjust to their needs. Like, how do you ensure flexibility of such a grown-up team?
Well, it is more complex than it looks. For example, when it comes to clients important like the European Union, one, you don't dictate. the necessities or the technical part. You adapt to the request.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
that's what I expect. That's why you need to be flexible, not them.
Correct. No, they're not going to be flexible. If that's what you think, that they're going to be flexible to a startup, I can have a smile with you, but you don't understand at that point. No, they are not going to be flexible to you. You actually are the one who's flexible. And that's why we have actually 18 teams in 18 countries. The team in European Union has to be chosen between people who are competent dealing with institutions like European Union Commission. The team has to be competent in GDPR because, as you know, they go very heavy on the violations. And the team has to be able to provide the services according to their requirements. So you have a team in European Union, in Brussels, who deals with them on a daily basis. And sometimes very frustrated, actually, but it's a very important client. And then also the position to be able to sit on that chair and to discuss about technology with European Union leaders, I think was worth it.
Yeah, I believe so. For sure, for European researchers, as I said during my time, so I would give my arm to get access to the information that your platform provides. So, Artur, I feel like I'm hijacking the whole session.
No, I know that you're fascinated. I saw your eyes light up when you saw the platform. So I'm giving you as much leeway as possible. But Aldi, I wanted to ask you about the kind of unity of vision, because you've got such diverse teams, and as you kind of just said, they're very specialized in what they do, but yet they have to strive towards a common goal. I know it's your job as a CEO to provide them with that vision, but then you have to have an approach. Can you share with us how you actually make sure that they have this vision and they actually subscribe to it?
Artur, would you be surprised if I tell you that they actually guide me and I don't guide them? Actually, it's my team teaches me the right way. So I had a vision. I made a decision. I created the initial part, but I have absolute respect for every single member of my team. So I'm never going to tell one. I mean, you can see them on LinkedIn, you can see them online, you can contact them personally. I will never tell any one of them ever that they don't know what they're talking about or that I want it in a certain way. The way we maintain the continuity of the vision is we have meetings. We sit down and we discuss parts. And I guarantee you that from the initial vision that I had, this company has gone far away from what I had as an initial vision. And I consider it a success. I consider it a success because, like I said, I cannot transmit the vision. I can only share mine. But by them sharing theirs, I learned that there are ways to do things better than I thought. So they taught me, and I was glad to have worked with such experts people. And you will see, don't think of experts like people with 20 or 30 years of experience. I guarantee you the hardest work in any startup is done by junior developers. They are the core.
Kind of. If I wanted to be a bit snarky, I could say because that's because they have the most to prove. But having been a junior developer myself at some point, I can also say it's probably because they have the freshest ideas. Because
the second one is the most reasonable thing. I agree with the second.
Yeah,
the first one. They don't have to prove anything. I have had people with 2 years of experience, 18 years old, doing machine learning and coding. And I had PhD professors with PhDs in computer engineering who couldn't keep up.
It's very often also because they don't know that certain things cannot be done, and I always love the saying that a person who says that something cannot be done shouldn't stand in the way of the person doing it. So it's because they very often haven't been kind of told that something is impossible. They just go on and do it, and only later find out surprisingly that it was thought of as not possible, and they just went and did it.
Oh, yeah.
How could they?
People thought that dark data, unstructured data, cannot be analyzed. You were a developer yourself. For how often have you heard this? Oh, data is a mess. If it's not properly structured, if it's not in a proper pipeline, if it doesn't have the algorithm and you have to train it, and then the results also are opinable and you have the margin of error. So, bottom line, you cannot have unstructured data being analyzed. And so having a protocol of structured and unstructured data, analyze them unsupervised. Everybody is like, oh no, that's impossible. You need CPU, you need so much power. No. They did it. I showed it to you.
Yeah, we've seen that the kind of amount of unstructured data that your platform can actually suck in and make structured. So this is I think Marian is probably a better expert here, but to my mind, this would be a collaborative effort from several different disciplines. So again, I think it speaks volumes about the collaboration and cooperation of, if there's any difference, of experts from several different fields.
There is. Collaboration and cooperation are two different things. They can collaborate but not cooperate. Sometimes engineers are very good in distinguishing that. Sometimes engineers are very good on collaborating. You ask them, you give them a task, they will do it. Cooperating, working together, it becomes a little bit more challenging.
So because one aspect that comes to mind when you have such a diverse team is cultural differences. Did you see it as a problem? And I'm not trying to hit here on political correctness, but I coming from Eastern Europe, working with Western countries, let's say I've been a source of cultural shocks a couple of times myself. Things that I've seen as a acceptable way of communicating was received as a bit offensive, maybe sometimes.
Ask me a question. Oh, yeah.
The question is, how do you deal with? Was it a problem for your teams that some people got offended easily by others who had different communication mode, and how did you solve it? That's the question.
I have a way to explain that. Do you want to ask a question to me? Let's say that you are one of the junior engineers that I'm hiring, and you ask me a question: what's the culture of the company? Ask me that question, please.
What is the culture of the company?
My answer is always, which one would you like me to talk to you about?
What do you mean?
Exactly. I mean that there are 18 countries, each one of them with a different culture. Which one do you know that works unilaterally and universally?
I don't know any.
Do you mean that your company basically has no unified culture?
My company has policies, doesn't have a culture, because my company is composed by people from India, which they have 238 different languages, from people from Iran, where every time you ask them, they consider themselves Persian, but as both of us know, the Persian Empire extended far beyond actual Iran. But for political reason, they will tell you I'm Persian. I have people from Palestine working shoulder by shoulder with Israelis in the same team. I have people from Egypt working with Saudi Arabia, and if you know, you will know that it's difficult for them to do that. I have people from Italy working with French and German and Spanish, with differences of opinion about which one has better cuisine. So essentially what I'm trying to say is like there is no one culture. There is a policy in the company. And that policy says that every culture has the right to be respected. So once you start in a company with that idea that your opinion, what is offensive for you, you can't just simply go and get offended, but you might ask, then that becomes a little bit easier to work with others. But if you are stuck in your culture and you are your ways, the culture is the right, like many California bros think that because they were beer ponging at the college level now. That's the culture of the startup industry. But that has changed very rapidly, particularly when you are going to outsource globally.
I mean, our company, Cognition Shared Solutions, is also fairly global. We've got people in Canada, in UK, in Slovenia, in several other European countries, Indonesia. that pretty much all our developers are there. So, but we still kind of consider that we've got certain, apart from written policy, certain culture, certain kind of way that we work together. It's less. It's obviously very respectful to everyone, but there is still a certain kind of common denominator, and I wouldn't want to kind of say it's the least common denominator. It's something that we've worked out together. That we've become a certain community.
Okay. What basis do you take in consideration for that community?
Sorry?
What basis of culture did you took in consideration to decide that community?
Respect.
It's something I think that grew organically out of common respect. Yes.
So you didn't have a culture; you created one.
Yes, it was. It was grown. Yes, absolutely. It's not something that we.
That's exactly what it is. We didn't have a culture. We started by accepting everyone into this community with policies and rules that everyone has the right to be respected in their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's creating culture within the company.
Let's go from kind of cultural issues to slightly more technical issues of coordination, because that's also a problem which is very often encountered. You as you mentioned, you're in so many time zones that it must be very hard to kind of find overlaps and also track what is happening, because things start happening around the globe, around the clock. Yeah, so you've got how do you coordinate then progress?
So that has been and is still a difficulty sometimes in certain ways. One, because the work, first of all, we choose to have a completely 100% flexible schedule where the team has the amount of hours that they have to work, but that they, as a team, independently, based on the time zones, they select those hours and the days. So the team has a team lead. The team lead proposes the time zones of the team members. The team members find a common ground as a time frame for when to work together. And then with technology, with GitHub, Discord, and Trello, and other things, we utilize tools for tracking, but substantially they track each other. So when you work in a team and then you have a good pipeline of communication, you would like to leave them some free time on their own terms to connect with each other. And that makes possible that I have team members that sometimes connect when for me it's 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, my Discord, because they use Discord for communications, like ting, 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 all the communication is recorded, and then there is an AI that collects the communications and the advancement. We have created our own AI tool for our project management. Of course, there is Trello, there is Monday.com, there are others. But we created our own because a gentleman who was a mathematician, he liked it better. So he said, I can make something better. And I said, okay, it's not going to take too much time, because for me, time was always of essence. And he said, I can do something better. It's not going to take much time. Just give me 8 people as resources, and in a month and a half, I'll have it. I'm like, okay. And then he designed something for tracking our team that is substantially our own task management app that connects with GitHub, for example, for the developers. Gets their pushing on the GitHub, gets the information from the DevOps, and can tell me for every single project how much is advancing, if we're meeting the requirement, if we're meeting the time frame, the hours, the cost, and so on. So any given time, I know exactly how much is costing me every single developer. No, I'm not going to.
So there is. Are you planning to release this as a separate product? Because it sounds very kind of innovative and
there are too many. There are too many out there. because releasing that product means like I have to start now a competition with Asana, Monday.com, Trello, and so on. Do I care about that? No, because it's tailored to our own needs. So can that product become then a product that can other startups utilize as a base, but then will require other development because it's not very easy. Most of the products that you see out there are general products. They, for example, Discord or other, just record who's talking, the communication. GitHub can tell you, for example, data analytics about who's pushing the code, when it's pushing code, how much, but doesn't have really the time that it's taking, how many hours of meeting they're doing, how many attempts. It doesn't track certain things. For us, that was very important because we needed to track, for example, also which team doing what contribution at what time and how much that single part is costing. Because it is very easy when you have 630 people and you have a burn rate of $6.8 million a month. It goes fast before you burn out everything. So if you don't calculate that, you don't have really true control over your production.
So let me ask a question which actually we've been discussing this with Marian earlier today, a concept of, because it sounds like a very, very innovative idea that you have developed in-house.
Correct.
Without any kind of intention of immediately and directly monetizing on it. How do you calculate or have you even considered the return on the investment that you've put into this? Because it seems like it does provide you with immense advantage if in your particular business, but it's slightly removed from your main expected revenue stream.
Correct, but it was a necessity for us. So the reason why that was current, I can tell the name. The name of the person is Roberto Nuca. Roberto Nuca is the mathematician, PhD. He was at Cambridge and so on. He is University of Torino Polytechnic, a very good friend of mine. And he was tired managing the teams. Like I'm telling you the honest truth. He was very tired managing the teams because he needed to manage the teams in different time zones. They have different times. They said that it has complied. And he was a mathematician. So he needed a mathematical way, numbers that represented technically what was being developed and how fast. And he didn't have those answers. And when a mathematician doesn't have answers, they don't sleep at night. So
and he was already tired. And now he was tired and underslept.
He was
terrible combination.
Already was tired developing the protocols that you saw. And the team was pretty large. So for us it was a necessity. Like we can go and subscribe to Monday.com and it has a cost, okay, per user, per file, and then we have 68 ongoing projects right now. And the team, we had a plan that was going to grow in a certain way. And once we have now other teams in other regions of the world, and each state is going to have their Kubernetes for their data management, because that's what the European Union requires. They require the European Union territory, but now they're going to be more specific. So we're going to have this micro process of formation of the data and collection. So each one of those teams then makes more sense to provide a service in their area of expertise, in their region. But you want to know what they're doing. And since you cannot, because otherwise you're never going to sleep, and the number of managers will overpass the number of the developers at that point, because you have more managers than developers, because it is crazy. So he was tired of that. And also, to be honest with you, we tried a couple of project managers, the so-called Scrum Masters. And you guys are already smiling, so you know where I'm going perhaps with this. But I will not make bad comments, okay? I promise I will be polite and nice. So let's say this way, that was not always satisfactory to Roberto's needs. So since he was tired of that, he said, like, okay, I'm going to create a method that is mathematical. I'm going to create an algorithm that collects the information, the data. I'm going to create a pipeline, a method on how the tasks are given in Discord and how they complete the task, how they write, for example, the spreadsheet, which are in Excel, and this program can read them, and how they push the code in GitHub And when that's what they have to be calculated, and then how many hours was the estimate that we gave them per hour. So in the end, I have a spreadsheet where it tells me who you are, what region you are working, how many hours you work a week, when do you start, when do you leave, how much code you have pushed, if that code is above average, under average, is the medium, and how much you're costing me, because there is also your hourly rate. So now, and then puts all that information together and tells me also for each team how much they're costing me.
So you have the you've essentially you had the cost of putting in that team of developers to work on that product.
Correct.
But now you're reaping on a daily basis the benefit of having that.
I've heard about
much smoother.
I've heard about a situation where there was twice the project managers than developers somewhere.
Yes,
not having that is probably saving 6 developers for a month and a half. When you have 600 people, I guess 500 is developers. 600.
Each team of 10 people has a project manager, Scrum Master.
So it's 10. So it's 10%, not 200%. So I guess I would invest in that. I have you touched on Scrum Masters, and we spoke about Agile some time ago. There is one thing which we, let's say, would like to pick your experience or learn about your experience. So-called self-organizing teams. What is your, let's say, experience? Did you try that? Did it work? Does it work? Like, what does it mean to you if you are,
It doesn't always work. Each team is different. So if people will tell me that self-organizing works always, that's not true. Some teams are very good at self-organizing themselves, and they are very, very at point, and they are surprisingly good. Like usually you can see a calculation or an estimation of hours and man hours that is going to take for a certain programming. And then we are like, wow, they're doing great, and they're doing less than we estimated, So it's fantastic. Let's give them bonus. Sometimes there are particular teams who for whatever reason, the alchemy is not working in between them. And so you have to change and to make modification to that initial team and to add new people and remove people and so on. And it's part of the process. It's really part of the process. What hurts the most is when you find that team that works well, then you really don't want to lose them. So you as a CEO will pay anything it takes, because it takes 5 good ones, to do a great job. But if in the early stages you show me that you are not stable and reliable, you don't have a problem to move it around. So
okay, so it's I guess because we have certain disagreements within our company about self-organizing, and I know that it's not for everyone. But have you actually found a way to mature teams so that they become self-organizing?
Yes, yeah, that's your job as a CEO. That's 90%.
So how do you do that?
Well, I start with the selection and the sharing of the goals. The selection of the people in the team is a very key process. It doesn't come as a natural process. The correct people have to be selected.
How do you decide? Is it just your personal experience that you're able to select them, or do you have some algorithmic way?
No, we have psychologists for that. I have a psychologist for that.
Let me grab my jaw from the floor, okay, and I will be able to speak again. You invested into psychology department just to make sure that cooperation is actually happening, that it's not just the collaboration.
Maria Laura Russo. Absolutely, yeah, I can tell you the name.
This is pretty unique, because I've worked with corporations who haven't really grasped on the idea that you have to have certain psychological compatibility.
She is an IT recruiter with specialization in psychology.
Wow.
Okay, so how what can you kind of share a bit of the secret? How could this be replicated by others?
There is no secret. It's very simple. You have a resume.
Mm-hmm.
Our platform, for example, if you are a scientist, which you know that large part of my team is completed from universities. Not
Mm-hmm.
that I don't believe in people who believe that the boot camp would make them the best in the world. I totally believe that everything is possible. But we have data when it comes to universities. So we choose a lot of our personnel through universities and schools. They have projects, so I can evaluate, first of all, the technical part, that you technically are prepared for what I need.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first part. And the second part, you have 2 sets of interviews. Now, the psychologist has a profile of each employee. Every HR department has that. And then she has also for which department, so she can pick. She doesn't remember every single one of them, of course, because she's crazy otherwise. But she has a profile. She knows where they are. She knows their region. She knows their school. She knows the preparations. She knows the technical preparation. She knows who are the other members of that team where she's about to input the new member. And then I don't know how to do it. Don't ask me. I'm not a psychologist. The only person she cannot fire is me because I'm her boss. Otherwise, she would have fired me, perhaps. Perhaps I'm not the best one in that sense. But no, I'm just joking. She has a lot of input about how one person is going to work with others. And it's also about the attitude of the people mostly. It's not about what you know as much as what you are willing to learn and how adaptive you are. It's a very key solution. There are brilliant people. There are brilliant people out there where it's absolutely fucking impossible, sorry the term, to work together.
We'll beep it out.
They are brilliant. They are very good, but you cannot work together. I'm one of them. I can piss off 3 people on 4 in a meeting, like easily.
Oh, come on! I can piss off 3 out of 2. It's like
see, when you are the boss, that doesn't matter because you are the boss. She cannot fire you, okay? But for everyone else, that's important because how are you going? Like, I'm going to use an example. I had, like, sure. I'm not going to say the people who are in Alter Learning, the other company that today. We had a conflict the other day, and we had a meeting for conflict resolution between 2D artists and 3D artists, both 2 team managers. Between 2D art and 3D art, so the concept art and the 3D art, were disagreeing on competencies, we're disagreeing on the form, was disagreeing. So my CO is her job, Maya, to resolve it. So I asked her, like, do you want me in that meeting? Guess what she answered?
No, please don't.
I'm guessing she said no.
Yes, correct. So she didn't want me. And did I go in that meeting?
No. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I did not. Because if I went in that meeting, my capacity is not that. I can't find solutions for that. There is better people than me for certain tasks. So this is our opinion in our company. This is our policy. There are people who are absolutely good in what they do. Well, then let's hire them to do the job. Not thinking that because you are the CEO, you have to be like prezzemolo, we say in Italy, everywhere, just a parsley. You put it everywhere. No, it can actually be detrimental to the company. So by choosing the right people for the right position and for the right task, it makes it easier, right?
Because we want our audience maybe to learn, because you have this working machine which is composed of multiple moving parts. Like, how do you choose these people that will replace you, like top managers of your company? Like, again, is it a gut feeling, or do you have some more structured method, or like,
no gut feelings allowed in a company like this size at this point. But there are always an aspect to consider. So my second in command is a woman, is a mother. Her name is Maya Burj. My other side is Carlos Come-Mariner. He's a man. He's a PhD from UC Davis in computer engineering. He was senior researcher at Bristol University in the United Kingdom, and now is advisory for European Union and so on. They are the 2 ones. So if I get sick or I get crazy, hopefully they're not going to waste the company and the time that they put into it, and they're going to manage it. But How do you choose them?
Mm-hmm.
There is no secret. It depends if they are committed to this project enough. They earned it. It's not a process where you just select one and say like, oh, you have the qualifications. And then my feeling says like, oh, you smile at me, so I'm feeling competent about that. No, it's somebody you have to grow into that position within the company. That's the best way, because you see during that period the dedication that they have to that company. They have committed time.
So I guess, and there's a lot of trust. As you said, you trust your team to deliver the right outcomes. You don't have to be everywhere, and they have to trust you to let them do their job, basically.
Yes, no, they trust me and trust the project. They did their homework. Every single person that I hired, for example, you'll be surprised, I took away hours of sleep from my own schedule to meet for every single engineer of my team. They have at least 30 minutes of meeting with me.
Times 600.
Okay. That's a pretty big investment. Let me ask you a kind of.
You made a mistake there. 600 are the ones that are
currently
right now. That doesn't mean that turnover reviews and turnover everything are only 600.
Absolutely no. It was heavy underestimation. Apologies.
Let me ask you a question, which on the face of it may sound a bit shallow, but do you have a mission and a vision for your company, like a statement?
Why everybody asks that? Yes, I do. And I do have a mission. I do have a vision. I don't know if I have a right statement, but we can make up one together right now if you want me to. I do have a vision, though. I can share the vision. The vision of the company is that what we would like is to lift the global scientific research to higher possibilities that they have now. That's the vision of it. Have the opportunity to have a global scientific research collaborating without any friction and interference from everywhere in the world, including China and Russia in this moment. I know I'm going to be controversial on that, and many people will freak out about my statement. But remember,
we promised you uncensored. I will beep up this single word, but the contents.
Remember,
stays.
After World War II, the core group of the space program, NASA,
we're German researchers.
Researchers don't make wars. Politicians make wars. So I'm absolutely okay if you want to take it upon that. But let the researchers do their job and work together.
The reason that you asked why everyone keeps asking about vision and mission. My particular motivation behind this is because we had some other people. We had Jamie J, who actually spoke to us at length about the vision and mission of his company, Bottleneck. Bottleneck Distant Assistance, and his kind of concept behind why he, for example, every time they have a meeting, they actually reiterate the vision and mission. I know that everyone kind of probably every founder, every CEO has some kind of idea of mission and vision in their head. Sometimes they state it in a very kind of nice and slick way. Yeah.
Proud way.
But
and everybody thought that maybe that might be a marketing choice, right? Just kidding.
Exactly. But there's always some philosophy that goes behind it. So it's not just putting your mission and vision on your business card and sharing it with kind of everyone who doesn't ask. But the more personal approach of how you then realize the vision. So what you stated, if I understand correctly, your vision translates directly into what your company has as a product,
correct,
as a deliverable. It's not something that kind of ever slipped.
No. And actually was inducted to me. So my father forced me to do that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You told us about this Albanian way of phrasing. No, but what I'm thinking now, that the way of this global collaboration and lifting the level, like it's not only about the product. I think it's because I think we are aiming at thinking like, is it installable or shareable? Would you say that it's true if I would say that you are talking about the scientific collaboration, but what your company is doing is collaboration on engineering, but it's global collaboration on a high level. So it's close to one another. So this vision it's not like, okay, let's allow researchers to freely collaborate all over the world, but here your collaboration will be, tightly controlled and micromanaged and like this. Collaboration as a value is shared by letting people collaborate with each other, not just assigning them tasks with a list of penalties.
We don't control what the scientists do. Second, we don't operate only in the engineering field. I have pharmaceutical industry.
No, I'm talking about your team, the data, the software engineering that your company actually does. So the software development that you do. So that this idea of collaboration that you want to give to researchers, you also give to your engineers, software engineers.
Yes.
That is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, yes. But this is how it was born. Once you think about a product, you think a way to make that product reality. And you think a way, how can you afford the best engineers in the world without having the money of Rockefellers? Because I'm Albanian, remember, I'm from a poor country. So I couldn't afford wages of Google here. So I had to find solutions. So I went and picked the best for what I needed everywhere in the world. I used my vision and made it reality for myself first. So I can create a product that everyone else can make their own dream a reality.
No, I think it's a great summary.
This is a very powerful message. I think this is all we have time for today. If people want to find out more about AAK Telescience or about you, where can they find you? Where can they find more info about your product?
So you can Google us. You can contact me directly on AAK Telescience. Somebody of my team will be at hand and schedule your meeting with us. If you want to see our product, we're very happy to show you. If you are a researcher, just create a profile. We'll be very happy to show you. It's free for researchers. And if you are an investor, well, come on, man. You can pay the salary because you have money enough. And then the information we are giving to you is worth it. I guarantee you that much. Otherwise, you're not going to pay. You're not going to stay as a client. So the bottom line, you can find us very easily. And we believe in about a month and a half or 2 months, the new marketing campaign will start. So everybody will know a little bit more about us. We've been a little bit in a stealth mode because we needed to do what we needed to do. And that was part of the deal. We didn't want to share too much information before having a product. There is this idea that in California in particular, people talk about a company as an accomplished product when they are still in pitch deck phase. They already have marketing campaigns fully completed in YouTube, social media, a product that is about 3 to 5 years away. Like I said,
our first guest was Yuchen Chan, who is an investor. He comes from European Nordic countries. Now he's living in the US, and he says there is a huge difference when he's talking, about his investments to potential startups. When they are coming from Europe, you have he said, two brilliant researchers with 20 years of experience. They say, maybe we will be able to do it. And when he's speaking to Americans, like, yeah, it's almost done, mate. And it's
I'm Albanian. So if I told my father I have a company and he doesn't see a product, he will come like, come on, just go ahead. So it wouldn't work that way. It's like if the countries where we come from, and I come from Eastern European countries, they will not believe you if they don't see the product. So that is a little bit me there, where you see like the decision to not do much of a marketing campaign was my decision, because until I was certain to show you the product, then I was like, okay, now does that product is completely perfect? It is not going to crash. I mean, come on, everything can break down something, but we have it. It works and we can fix it. We know where to put the hands to fix it. And I will not show a product until I have that product. Now, Even Mercedes-Benz breaks down sometimes, but they have mechanics, they have parts, they can fix it, Even Google crashes sometimes. They have stuff, they can fix it. This is the time for us to show it now that it exists, and we can...
Even Volkswagen sometimes passes the environmental tests.
You don't know what others do to pass those environmental tests. It's a lot of politics. Yeah. So judging other people, it can be a little bit more difficult.
We're very
I'm not judging anyone.
I had a
before Marian
saved my life. I had an accident because I didn't know how to drive, and it was a very good car. Trust me on that.
Before Marian gets us into any legal trouble.
No, Artur is driving Volkswagen, and we respect this money, this company very much.
I'm very happy with it. It's the best car ever.
An Audi, to be honest with you.
I'm a Volvo guy, but I don't know. We should probably get some money from the producers for product placement.
It's okay. They have good cars. They all have a reason to.
Even more, I would like to thank you for sharing the information about your product with us and actually showing us the product when you did. You did give us a great presentation of it. So we sincerely recommend to everyone who's interested in collaboration, scientific collaboration across the world to check it out.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time, and let's hope it was of use to someone. Thank you for listening.
If you're interested in more interviews related to managing remote teams, please check out the Remote Show podcast, covering tips, applications, tools, management concepts, and much more.
Another great podcast would be Leading the Future of Work, where Jacob Morgan leads in-depth conversation with the world's top business leaders, best-selling authors, and thinkers about as the name suggests, the future of work.
As usual, all links to the references will be available in the notes to this episode.
Also, don't miss the next one, where we'll be talking about digital innovation and ways of implementing it as a form of innovation labs, with an author of the best-selling books Innovation Lab Excellence and Cashless, Richard Turin.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or visit pda.show to find out more about future episodes and guests. You can also check out cognition.llc for more information on Cognition Shared Solutions, our services, and other events hosted by us.
For now, it's thank you from myself, Artur Guja, and my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian Siwer.
Thank you and goodbye.